Hello and welcome back to the R&R podcast. It's me, it's he, it's your favorite C, it's Colton.
And I'm Kelly.
Really need to get a better intro, bro.
Right. So, I didn't have any idea what we were really going to do for this one. I just thought, you know what, screw it. We need to practice. We need chemistry, so what better way to do those two things than to do it? You gotta learn to walk before you can learn to swim.
Yes, exactly that.
And of course,
During this practice, we're making some nice tacos.
some takeout tacos.
Kelly's fondling the meat, and I'm fondling the peppers.
I thought you said peppers. You're fondling the peppers? The papaya peppers?
I am fondling papyrus. Wait. Copyright. Kelly, copyright. Kelly, copyright.
Copyright?
Stop.
Is that the right to copy?
Yes. Yes, that's exactly that, Kelly.
I'm just realizing now how ironic the word copyright is. It's like, that's honestly what it sounds like. I have a right to copy your shit. It's
Yeah.
the copyright.
Yeah.
Man.
This is basically a day in the life of me living with Kelly.
Yes. Yeah, it's me just spouting off random things here and there, because I don't bother to filter myself a whole lot anymore, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
It's more fun not to. In fact, I don't know if you've ever actually tried this, but writing your thoughts down, and I mean like physically writing it down, not typing them down necessarily, although that does work, but I've noticed that writing your thoughts down, I don't know, there's something that is extremely therapeutic about it. And when I say writing your thoughts down, I mean unfiltered. Just like verbal barfing onto the paper right in front of you.
Yeah. I can definitely, I can see the thrill and the happiness that you get from it because, again, it's unfiltered.
Yeah.
It's what you'd want to say in many situations,
Yeah.
but you can't because you're an introverted little fuck.
Right? Well, it's weird though, because I know that I've heard that therapists they'll say that like it's actually really good to write down your thoughts. Although I've never heard any explanation as to why, and I never really thought about it until I started doing it myself out of curiosity. And weirdly enough, I don't know if I have anxiety. I've never been diagnosed, but I have what I think would be traditionally anxiety-related symptoms, and those like said symptoms, they just vanish. They dissolve into nothingness whenever I write my thoughts down, and it's wonderful. So, for any of you guys out there, you're feeling anxious or even depressed, or one of the most common ones for me is just when I'm pissed off at something and I start writing down, there's something about it. It might be the fact that the book is almost akin to a person sitting there and listening, because the book doesn't judge you. It lets you write whatever you want, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it comes down to. You don't necessarily need someone to talk back, you just need someone to listen.
Hey, so sometimes that's all it takes. Just a nice ear and just like a nice sit down.
Yeah?
So sometimes that's all a person wants or needs, at a certain time.
I mean,
maybe they're just going, through stuff and,
Yeah.
and just that's why, having having someone like that in your life is always nice.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it be even just over, social media or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You still have that person to be able to communicate with, maybe tell them something that you've never told anyone else.
Yeah.
Which is also a very necessary thing when, you're in any sort of relationship too.
Oh, absolutely.
Communication is just, it's a natural part of being a human being. And when you don't have that line of communication, that always leads to, bad things generally with your, mindset and everything like that.
Well, yeah, it comes back to, how, studies have shown that, I've talked to you, we've talked about this before, how, studies have shown that if you neglect an infant, if you feed them and all that, you keep them alive, that's fine and all, but if you never hold them, if you never, cradle them or anything like that, if you don't show them any humanity or any affection outside of feeding them, 9 times out of 10 they'll grow up with serious mental issues, like murderous, psychopathic type mental issues.
Yeah.
Because essentially, when you think about it, it's basically lack of human contact
Mhm.
at the end of the day that's turning these people into monsters.
Yeah.
And it's horrific and it's terrible. Like people don't people don't realize. I mean, how many times have you heard that, like, oh, it's no big deal if you're single, or like maybe they don't say that specifically, but it's implied through the things they're saying, acting like it's no big deal to be single. And for the most part, it's not. But over prolonged periods of time, if you're either separated from humanity or you can't find a mate, people get depressed. I mean, what do you think the incel forums are?
Yeah, well, yeah, because it messes with your mind. Because as humans, it's in our nature to want to, have that connection with another human being or multiple human beings. No judging.
Polygamy.
If that's what you want to do, I'm not going to judge.
Yeah.
But it's in our nature to want to have that connection, have those thoughts, have those feelings, and everything like that. And I'm not condoning, like rape or anything like that. Cause
No.
That's far from, that's a far cry from like, the connection we're meaning to talk about. It's just when you have, like a significant other, like someone you're in love with and stuff like that, whether it be, whether you've been with them for like a week or something like that, like a feeling of love, is something that generally you semi-understand it when you feel it, because you'll always have that person or people, again, not judging, on your mind all the time, and you'll be able to just like talk so casually about them and stuff like that. So I've seen so many like pictures and like images of people talking back and forth, and you can just tell without even any actual audio or anything like that, just like the way they're talking to each other over text or whatever, you can tell how much they actually like care for each other and like want to be with one another and stuff. And it's that sort of connection that can that can really help a person, when they're down like that. Because if you don't have, without that sort of thing, it can become very hard, and you can become very disconnected from your reality and everyone else's reality and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, we're social creatures. It's true. What you're saying, like we crave attention, like interaction, partially because mentally it is almost required for us to hold on to what little sanity a lot of us even have.
Oh yeah, it's like we're in 2019 now. Not a lot of people have a lot of sanity left. We're just in the beginning of 2019, and I've already seen some interesting posts already. But yeah, it's like again, it's just like its same nature as pretty much any sort of animal, because that's what we are. We're animals still.
Yeah.
And like most animals, crave that sort of again, like you were saying, not so much attention, but just an interaction.
Yeah.
With one another. And when we don't get that, when we isolate ourselves, that can become it can make a person sick. And, like, there's always the arguments that, depression isn't, like, a mental illness or whatever, and stuff like that. But it's like, it is.
It is.
Because
absolutely.
that's something that can, because, like a lot of people say, oh, it's just in your head. It's like, well, it's not,
shit.
It's not anywhere else.
It's a mental illness.
Yeah, it's just, like,
yeah.
like, of course, it's in your head, but, like, it's because, again, as humans, we want to interact. We want to, do things with one another. At least, it depends on your personality entirely. But still, when you don't get that kind of thing, it can very negatively affect your brain and how you react to situations.
Oh yeah.
And everything like that. Like someone who's, been through, a lot of shit. Again, it depends on who you are, but someone could, go through one situation, entirely differently than someone else could.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But, like again, based on who they are as a person, their actual mental stability is like probably the best word to use there.
Yeah.
And not getting, and like attention is a part of it, because when you don't get attention, that can also negatively harm you.
Oh yeah, and that's again because it comes back to when you. It's as simple as when you neglect an infant for long enough. That'll mess them up.
Mm-hmm. That infant is probably gonna, end up growing up, because again, like, like their whole mental stability is going to be down, and
Yeah.
they're not going to, if that person ends up growing up, in that sort of environment with not actually being really cared for, they had to care for themselves and stuff. If that person ever, tries to interact with someone else, they might, react negatively to it because they're not used to actually getting the attention, being held, hugged and stuff like that. Like a simple hug could, like a person could react very negatively to that because they're not used to actually being touched and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's exactly, yeah. I mean, lack of attention and just interaction, that's how people like Ed Gein and like Ted Bundy came around, I assume. Some people are just born messed up, and that's the sad truth. So sometimes you just don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have no idea. They're like snakes in the grass.
Yeah, no, sometimes you can never tell, depending. That's why we have, our gut instinct. Generally, like, human instinct is a very, very strong thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's always something you want to trust. Because, like, I haven't had my instincts tell me about things, like, a lot, but, like, generally, when my instincts say, like, avoid this person, or hey, you should, like, say something to this person, generally I do it, because, it's my gut instinct to want to do something.
Yeah.
And even though, like, I'm a very introverted person, I don't like to talk to strangers, which is ironic considering I work a service job, but I generally don't like to talk to strangers or anything like that. And, like, I've still gone to gut instinct before to, like, be like, hey, and then, like, I do it.
Yeah.
And then I'm usually surprised at myself for actually doing it.
Yeah.
At the same time. But it's because I trusted my instincts to actually kind of lead me on that path.
Yeah. Well, every time I've gone against my gut, it has routinely screwed me over, time and time again. And it's always, and usually my thought process beforehand is usually something akin to, oh, you're just being nervous, or, oh, you're overthinking it. And my gut is going, no, don't, no, hey, no. And then the bad thing happens, and my gut is like, yeah, well, I told you, I hate you.
Yeah.
I told you, and you didn't listen, and now we're both in pain.
Yeah. The gut instinct is a very, very, very powerful thing, and you should always try and listen to it.
Unless you're Ted Bundy or Ed Gein, then don't listen to your gut.
Well, the thing is, in that case, though,
their guts are screwed up.
Yeah, because you'd be so screwed up, so your mind would just be agreeing with your gut in that case.
Likely, yeah.
Yeah, because, you've already done horrible things.
It's crazy. The minds of people like that, the minds of killers, the minds of evil people, it's weird. I tend to freak out my parents a little bit when I talk about things like this, but I find the minds of murderers and dictators and horrific people, I find their minds so utterly fascinating because they're so radically different than how the average person thinks, especially dictators, because murderers are one thing, but dictators are usually on a global scale. That's why, why do you think I'm so obsessed with the 20th century history, like Nazi Germany, USSR, Cambodia, Vietnam, North Korea? That's a big one.
North Korea, anybody?
You mean? Sorry. I mean, best Korea. Apparently North Koreans actually don't like being called North Koreans because in their eyes, it's like, no, we're just Korea. The South is South Korea. Like as though they were like the originators almost. Yeah. It's weird throughout a lot of the documentaries I've watched of people going there and studying and seeing how they live their lives. They're taught not only that they're a wealthy country, but that they're basically at the top of the world and they rule everything. That's part of the reason why they have such blind devotion to their leader, because they believe, first of all, they believe that the Kim family are actually gods. They are actually taught that they came down from heaven and everything, so naturally questioning them is not exactly tolerated, but also, not only are they taught that they rule the world and that they're super rich, but that South Korea, they're taught South Korea is impoverished, and that the people living there are miserable. And they all believe it, so that's the sad truth. It's one of the most closed-off countries in the world, which, again, is why I find it so fascinating, because it's so different. You go there, I look at the images and the videos people take, it's like going back in time to the Cold War. and go into the Soviet Union with the clothes that they wear and the propaganda. Hell, even the art styles of the propaganda is very reminiscent of Cold War Soviet era stuff, which makes sense because North Korea's communist regime was established by the Soviet Union after the Second World War, where they instated Kim Il-sung as the first leader. He was the grandfather of the fat, chubby rocket man that we know today. And it's interesting, and I guess that's why. But for some reason, they closed off themselves harder than the Soviet Union did, and they managed to retain this weird kind of communist, socialist, mid-20th century kind of cult of personality culture sort of thing. And it's so weird and eerie, but that's what I like about it. Also, I like weird stuff and I like eerie stuff. I mean, that's why I like the Slender Man so much. Yeah. All right. Well, I think this has been an excellent first run. I don't know what you think, but
yeah, I think it's been a good first little test of how we could do stuff.
Yeah. So see what the mic quality is like. We can see what the angular quality is like, and we will. I have no idea what I'm gonna do for an outro. Bye.